Perhaps the best news of the day came not from any of the games, but from Alex Smith. His wife, Elizabeth, posted on social media that Alex is home out of the hospital after 4 weeks. Surgery, complications, infections, but Alex Smith home for the holidays and doing well. That is a relief because a couple of weeks ago, when the news starts to come out about the infection and removal of the hardware and external fixators and just it can be very, very serious. So it's great news to see that he's doing well.
Great news. It really is. Alex Smith's a great guy, and that's a tough injury. It was gruesome. And I played with Joe Jaravicius, who had to deal with a staph infection and a surgically repaired knee that ruined his career. So this is a real thing that goes on in the NFL from time to time, and best to Alex Smith.
All right, it's superlatives time for Week 15. Chris Sims, I'll let you have the honors. What do you got?
Well, it's hard. I guess the first one, I got to go with one of my old favorites. And, I'm going to build a wall so big. Chris Ballard's going to build a wall so big. He's not even going to pay for it. He's going to make Jim Irsay. He's going to make Jim Irsay pay for it. And that's the Indianapolis Colts offense. Just how phenomenal that was yesterday. I mean, they really are. They're like the Great Wall of Indianapolis right now. I'm having fun, of course, yes, just because I think they're amazing. They really are. I mean, the 3 first-rounders they have on their offensive line, but what they did to that Dallas Cowboy defense, Mike, I think we got to talk about it a little. Just not only dominating the line of scrimmage in the run game. I mean, you look at the highlights, the ones that matter in that game, it's really Marlon Mack right up the middle of that Dallas defense, right? And then, added to that, we've seen this Dallas defensive line ruin games for teams the last few weeks. You know how many sacks this great defensive line had yesterday against the Great Wall of Indianapolis? 0. That's how good this group is. They are capable of really matching up against the best D-lines in football and just saying, so what? Bring it. We can play you man-to-man, mano-y-mano, I was going to say there. But either way, the Colts, Frank Reich, Andrew Luck, that offense and that offensive line is really what's changed that team around.
I talked to Marlon Mack after the game, and, we have discussed in recent weeks that with the Cowboys, you get a feel early on whether or not their formula is going to work because it's very simple. Marlon Mack said from the first drive, he knew that it was going to work, that they were going to have a big day.
Right.
And it helped having Matt Eberflus as the defensive coordinator of the Colts. He had been with the Cowboys for 7 years. He knows their defense. He knows their offense.
Yep.
They were able to shut down that offense. They know the personnel. They know what they like to do.
Right.
And defensively, they run the same defense. They know how to attack it.
Right.
So it worked out very well for the Colts, who get to 8-6, and they are very much alive for the postseason. Now the Cowboys have to be a little nervous because they only have a 1-game lead over both Washington and Philadelphia going into the final 2 weeks of the season. They got to get that vibe back. And that's one of the things we've seen. When you're in that mode where you're winning, once you slide off the horse, it's hard to get back on sometimes. Now, the Buccaneers coming to town next week, they should be able to beat them, but who knows? All right, for me,
who knows?
For me, this is the "Why didn't they fire that guy a long time ago" award. And really, when you think about Mike Zimmer, the Vikings head coach, having to come out publicly multiple times and say, we want to run the ball. We need to run the ball. It makes you wonder how many times privately he had made that point to former offensive coordinator John DeFilippo. That's one of the things Tony Dungy, who was an assistant in Minnesota years ago, has pointed out. Why did it have to get to this point for the Vikings to actually run the football? And they finally did now with Kevin Stefanski as the offensive coordinator, and the offense was balanced. The offense was effective. I talked to Stephon Diggs after the game, and I thought he would be because he's very engaging and very candid, and I thought he'd talk about how this was a wake-up call and nobody's safe now, and if we're not going to do things the way Coach Zimmer wants, there's going to be accountability. He just kind of shrugged and he said, look, this is what we can do. This is on the players, and we know what we can do, and we did it. He said that the offensive line got the game balls yesterday. The offensive line hadn't been playing like a unit worthy of game balls pretty much all year long, but they opened up the running lanes for Dalvin Cook, who had a career day. Latavius Murray gets plenty of reps in the running game. That set up play-action passing. That was how Stephon Diggs scored his touchdown. Great throw by Kirk Cousins to Aldrick Robinson late. He's Kirk when he makes a good throw. He's Kurt when he makes a bad throw. Kirk was around more than Kurt yesterday, although there were a couple of Kurt sightings. That game was 21-0, and it becomes 21-7 like that because of the pick six on a receiver screen.
There,
and even though the final score was 41-17, we forget that there was a time there in the third quarter where it's like, oh boy, the Dolphins are going to take this.
I believe. Yeah, right. No doubt about it. But it just, again, It shows when, your coaching staff and your team is determined to do something and they were determined to run the ball that week and have more plays in the game plan. It's the way Minnesota should be playing. They got a great defense, play through that defense, run the ball, and then you're going to get your one-on-one opportunities with those two receivers on the outside, and that's when they can make the pass game go. So good for the Vikings. Maybe they got it going. I'm going to stay kind of with the kicking it old school award, I'm calling it, just because of all the 100-yard rushers we saw yesterday. I didn't want to steal your Dalvin Cook thunder, so I let you have that one because I thought if I went first, I knew you wanted that one. Yes. But I do want to talk about...
No, you prefer to make me nervous going on about building a wall and making somebody else pay for it, but go ahead.
I do like making you squirm on that. But 10 100-yard rushers in the NFL yesterday, and only two 300-yard passers. We had Goff last night, who had to throw the ball 50-something times to get to 300 yards, and we had Phillip Rivers on Thursday night. But I think what we're seeing, or what we're seeing this time of the year in the NFL, with the elements...
The pendulum is swinging.
The pendulum is swinging. You better watch out. But the run game, of course, is just such a vital part for matchups on a weekly basis, helping out your defense. And I think, over the last few weeks, we've seen some more old school downhill smash mouth type running and offense from teams all over the league. And yesterday, whether it was Gus Edwards in Baltimore, Nick Chubb on Saturday night, we talked about Marlon Mack and the Colts. Henry had a great day with the Titans. You got Tevin Coleman, who killed it for the Falcons. Pittsburgh Steelers, Jalen Samuels. So I just
142 yards, 19 carries. First time he ever had 19 carries at any level of football in his life.
It's amazing. And I watched him play at NC State last year. He's got a
all over him.
Great skill set there. But
not you didn't hit the same home run you hit last year with Alvin Kamara,
right.
But still pretty good.
I said watch out for him all year. Yeah, but it's just refreshing to me in the NFL where 300 yards is just a commonplace, to see this week where it was run game oriented and not as many 300-yard passers. Kind of an old school weekend in the NFL.
The weather is turning, and the stakes are rising, and single elimination football is coming, and this is going to be a great test. And we've seen this building, the high-powered pinball offenses against the old school smash mouth football. Right. And I have a feeling this year, when it's all said and done, it's going to be one of those teams that plays old school football. It's going to win, or it's just somebody who's got balance between offense, defense, and run game, pass game.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who's going to catch fire at the right time, and they're going to find a way to win games. And I think it makes for a very exciting 11-game postseason tournament, which is only, 19 days away. It gets started in 19 days.
We're close.
Amazing. All right. Here's my next one, and this is in honor of you, Chris. This is the Self-Scouting of Himself Award.
Thank you.
You mentioned Derrick Henry. I talked to him yesterday after the game, and I looked at his performance early in the year and his performance more recently, and I said to him, what happened?
Right.
Why do we have this sudden resurgence? And it really isn't all that sudden. What happened was week 8, they had a bye. So they had 7 games on the front end, 7 games on the back end. He went and he looked at his film, and he realized he's trying too hard.
Right.
He's trying to hit a home run on every play, so he's giving up too quickly on plays where it's not easy.
Right.
He's going down too easily. He's running out of bounds too easily. He's thinking that, hey, I can't get anything out of this. Instead of fighting for an extra yard or two, he wants 50. He wants 60. He was giving up too quickly. And now what he's doing is he's grinding, and he's using that size.
Right.
And I think the fact that he wasn't used excessively early in the year, he's got that pool of extra, he can take more hits, he can take more carries, he's fresher than other guys. So, in the first 7 games of the season, he was averaging 39 yards per game.
Yeah.
In the last 7 games, he's averaging 87 yards per game.
Right.
And his yards per carry, 3.25 before he did the self-scouting of himself, 6.69 in 7 games since then. This isn't just a 2-game phenomenon. This guy has gotten better. We just didn't really notice it until he had that explosion on Thursday night last week against the Jaguars. But 408 yards the last 2 weeks, 6 touchdowns. And if he can keep it up, this is one of those teams that can swipe one of those spots in the AFC field and can be a factor when we get to January.
Well, they can be scary. You're right about that. Because of Dean Pease and Vrabel on the defensive side, they're a game plan type defense who can do creative things out of nowhere. And then, it is. I mean, it's interesting with Derrick Henry. It's always odd to see a tailback that size in the NFL. And of course, I agree with this assessment. He does have moments where you go, man, come on, smash it in there a little harder, run in there a little harder. And I do think because of his size and his length, you know, it's hard for those tall running backs at times because they're worried about their legs getting chopped out all the time, and they're worried about losing a knee, and there's just so much surface area for defensive players to hit. But it's good to see him make that turnaround and self-evaluate self, because that will always make you a better football player.
You got anything else?
I mean, I kind of wanted to give like the bludgeoning award to the Baltimore Ravens. I'm feeling like I want to give the run game love today. And again, the Baltimore Ravens are showing like you don't need to throw for 300 yards on a weekly basis to win football games.
Or 100.
Or 100, exactly right. I mean, they barely got over 100 yesterday, and Lamar Jackson had a few good throws in the game. He had a few errant throws where he struggled throwing the ball in the rain, certainly. But so what? They didn't care. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, it's amazing to watch how many different ways and styles they can run the ball, whether it's speed sweeps or Lamar off the edge or Gus Edwards down the middle. They just got it all, and they've really created this offense, and I got to give Greg Roman a lot of credit along with Marty Mornhinweg, because Greg Roman came from San Francisco. He was coaching Colin Kaepernick. That he has really added to the inventory of this offense, and they have become a really in-depth running schematical team to where, you know, they're just as annoying to deal with and game plan for as, you know, a team that throws the ball 40 times a game and has all these different formations, because you have to worry about so many different things and what they do in the run game and different people along with it, that it's pretty fascinating. We're seeing like I feel like it's like a wishbone team in the NFL, which is very rare.
Remember, they were one of the only teams that flirted seriously with signing Kaepernick in 2017. Remember that? They were going to bring him in, and something happened. There was something that Kaepernick's girlfriend said supposedly that caused the Ravens to sour. It was kind of a lame explanation at the end of the day. But maybe this has been a matter of them finding the quarterback to make this go. Yeah. And now you have to wonder, all right, Joe Flacco undoubtedly going to be out unless Lamar Jackson gets injured and Flacco comes in and sparks some sort of a Super Bowl run. But next year, do they go RG3 as the backup? Do they think about Kaepernick? I mean, you know, next year's a long way away, but it's not that far away. And if Lamar Jackson's the guy, and we hear all the time, you want to have, supposedly, you want to have a guy who's the backup who runs the same offense. You want to find one or two guys behind Lamar Jackson who can come in and do the same thing.
Yeah, I would think that RG3 would make sense to be the backup for them and what they want to do, because it is a similar skill set, and you don't want Joe Flacco there in the background to constantly...
Not making $18.5 million a year.
Exactly right. So that's not going to happen. But, man, the Ravens, they've rushed for 200 yards 4 times this year, 242 yards yesterday. And, again, it goes back to our playoff conversation, and you might have to play some outside ugly games in the elements, and Baltimore Ravens are one of those teams between their defense and their run game that will not be affected no matter if it's a monsoon or a cold day, whatever it is, they're going to be fine.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.